all across the land dawns a brand new morn. This comes to pass when a child is born. A silent wish sails the seven seas. The winds of change whisper in the trees, and the walls of doubt crumble, tossed and torn. This comes to pass when a child is born. A rosy hue settles all around. You've got to feel you're on solid ground. For a spell or two, no one seems forlorn. This comes to pass when a child is born.
And all of this happens because the world is waiting for one child, black, white, yellow. No one knows but a child that will grow up and turn tears to laughter, hate to love, war to peace, and everyone to everyone's neighbor. And misery and suffering will be words to be forgotten forever.
It's all a dream, an illusion now. It must come true sometime soon, somehow. All across the land dawns a brand new morn. This comes to pass when a child is born. This comes to pass when a child is born. Love comes to pass when a child is born.
So I sent last week, or whatever week it was that I spoke last, I said to BA, is it too early to tell you I love you? So I hope you've noticed what a difference it makes when there is a team of musicians up here. And so what I know BA has done for Kurt and Renee and everyone else who steps up is a sense of organization on a different level that Reverend Rose and I can't do as ministers. We think we can do it all, and we can't. And it's not a matter of choice, it's just we don't have those skills. So, you know, part of being humble is to say, don't choose me for that, right? And so we are so grateful, so grateful. And Karen, I say to you that I am living proof. It's my 4th Christmas without Tom. And so we are here to support you in any way, whether it's prayer or food or screaming or swearing on the beach. I'm your girl. Because I believe saying things that sometimes we've been told we can't say, right, as children, that they feel so good on your tongue. And so I've been a big supporter of that since Tom got his angel wings, and I found last week by a gentleman named Tim Lawrence, who's a psychologist of some sort. He wrote an article about why swearing, and he used a word that began with F, which was not friend. And when you say these words, how healing they are when you're in grief, because it allows you to get out anger and things like that. And so I posted it, you know, and you already know I'm pretty irreverent as a reverend, and so it was interesting how many people didn't comment on it. But I got some private emails, and one was from a woman just yesterday, and she said, I don't know if you remember me, my name is, and she said, I saw your post on Facebook, and I continue to remember the day you told me that, and it has helped me heal. And so we never know when we put on our Christ, whether it's by allowing someone to use a swear word or listening to great music, that we change people's lives. But it happens in the moment that we make the conscious decision. And one of those moments actually was because of our own Beth. And remember, we had all the stuffed animals here, right? And we call it stuffed love because we hug on those animals and then we give them. And so we got a letter back and it says, "Oh, Beth, how wonderful. We love you and we love your stuffed animals. We will find loving homes for each and every one of them. Merry Christmas. Thank you so much for your kindness." So if Beth did not lead that, we don't know how many lives would not have been touched. And right now, we only know that the leader where we brought those at the yellow umbrella was touched. But once we are touched, it emanates out from us, doesn't it? Because our kindness is contagious, like our attitudes. And what we've said before is you get to decide whether yours is worth catching. So what I got to catch for my grandbaby was the gunk that runs, in them. And so that was my Christmas gift. So I'm very excited about it. And so we decided to have the talk be putting on your Christ, because one of Charles Fillmore's favorite quotes was, "Christ in you, your hope of glory." And I believe at one time in your life here as a church, you had that on your wall. I know it's on the one in Melbourne as well. And we think, well, what does that mean? Christ in me, the hope of glory. We are all that God has to be physical representations of love and kindness and compassion here in this world. That's the hope of glory. We are all of that. We are great. We are wonderful, beautiful, perfect in everything that we are in this moment and in every moment when we choose to come from that Christ consciousness. And this morning I got to work with my own Christ consciousness as my iPad. First of all, I couldn't get the printer to print or the computer to download my talk, and then my iPad is not bringing up my talk, and thank you, Lizzie, for just ask a kid, they know how to do stuff. And so we are grateful for anyone younger than ourselves that helps us to make it in a day, right? So the scripture I chose was, "The Spirit of God has made me, and the breath of God gives me life." Just like the song that B.A. sang. Every time we see a baby, we see hope. Every time there is a death, there is hope. Because life is a circle. We learned that from the Lion King, didn't we? Right? We learn it when we go to the beach and we see that there are birds praying or eating, of quite the festivity that's been going on for the last couple of weeks, because there's been little white fish that have washed up in quite an abundance up on the shore here. And so the circle of life goes on. And so I invite you to get comfortable with death, because guess what? It's going to happen. From the day we're born, we begin to die to the physicalness of who we are, because there's a greater calling for us. And we love when the calling takes a long time to get to us, though, don't we? Yes. So are we breathing or are we being breathed? Yes, the answer is yes. Because we are of God, just like the baby that B.A. sang about, born in the image and after the likeness of all that is great and all that is good. That's us. And so each time we make a shift in our consciousness to be that expression is when life experiences miracles. And a miracle is up to you. You get to decide what that is. It can be something you've read in a book or the Bible, or it could just be, wow, look at that, I saw that rainbow. Or did you see that bird in that tree? Or we see a baby. Yesterday, when I got to be with I've been with my grandbabies all week, and the 17-month-old, I was late a little bit later on Christmas Eve getting to where I needed to be, and I had heard just all day how crabby she had been and all that. Walk into the restaurant, and here is this, Nana! Mimi, Papa, Boppy, and Grandpa were all like, up liver, pretty much. Because I just wasn't around all day. right? So it wasn't about me being her favorite. It was just she hadn't seen me yet. And they had been old hat by that time because they had been together all day. So how are you treating yourself as the Christ? When you put on your clothes in the morning, do you think, wow, what a Christ you are? I often have my eyes closed as I'm looking in the mirror, right? Whatever you do, right? Whatever you do. But how do we remember that the seed of truth that is us is just waiting to be nurtured each and every day, watered, fed, loved, and cared for? Every day. Every day. And what Karen and I have in common, and those of you who have family in your life or friends that have angel wings, is we get to remember and keep that love alive by talking. So please, have a conversation about your favorite memory with Don. And if Karen can't have it right now, she'll have it another time. That's my favorite conversation. Oh, my favorite time with Tom was. And we keep the spirit alive, because if spirit is of God, which it is, then it's always alive, just like we are, just like our animals and our pets are. So how are we doing that every day? How are we remembering that we are spiritual beings having human experiences? Ernest Holmes, who founded the Science of Mind movement, which is very much almost started the same time that Unity did, wrote something, and he says, it's impossible for Jesus not to have become the Christ. As the human gave way to the divine, as man gave way to God, as the flesh gave way to spirit, as the will of division gave way to the will of unity, Jesus the man became the living embodiment of the Christ. I love when I read things by other authors, other religious movements, and they have the word unity in there, because they are not talking, they didn't know they were talking about us. It's great. So as the will of division gives way to the will for unity. How great is that? And we get to do that every day in our family. In every relationship that we have, we get to choose again. And we have another miracle sitting in the second row, who came to visit us from Colorado, who decided, her body decided, well, guess what? I need to go to the hospital on Christmas Eve and have my heart attended to. And look who's could we have you stand up and show us how you stand on your legs? I mean, had a heart procedure Christmas Eve. Day of. She came home the day before Christmas. Oh, she came, okay, whatever all the details are. She's alive and kicking, literally. And so this morning when I saw her, I said, so there's something still left for you to do. And that's the truth. What are we doing? Who have we come here to be? What is ours to be on purpose? And details and dates really don't matter, do they? Except for if you don't miss a birthday, correct? So how are you going to be the Christ today? How will you decide that you know that what is yours to do is to also be God expressing? My children's mother, who is still alive, and we call her Mimi, is a Christian Scientist, and I'm a Unity minister. And so last night we're all at dinner, and Tom's oldest daughter, her oldest daughter, says, because we're talking about how we're going to go home early from the dinner, we're going to, get ready. She plays music for the church, and I'm going to speak. And she goes, see, this whole church thing it interrupts all your life. She's dead serious. And she was raised in Unity, so, by my husband. And so I looked at her, and I looked at Mimi, because she's the mom, and I'm the stepmom, and I looked at Amy, and I said, no, Amy, it never gets in the way. It is the way. And she's like, yeah, whatever. And so this is one of the things that we've talked about here as a church. How will we get to reaching those who are from the age of 18 to like 40? Because that's the biggest unaffiliated group, unchurched group in the world, not just in Unity. That's ours to do. How will we do that? And so part of it is upgrading the music. Let me be honest, all of it is upgrading the music. I told you that 90% of the reason people come to church is for the music. And when you can tie it in and have quite the ministry going, it's fabulous. And so it'll be another day that I have a talk with my daughter, but that's what she thinks. Oh my gosh, you're going to interrupt our day tomorrow with the grandbabies because both of you have church to do. We're not going to argue about it. That's her viewpoint. I can't change her mind right now. All I can do is model it, and that's all you can do is model what it looks like to have God in your life. Rose says that almost every day now. Thank you so much, Reverend Rose. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And it's been a year now that I've been helping you guys out. So one of the things that Fillmore says is that we believe that Jesus went through all sorts of seasons in his life, like we all do, when he felt very human and also felt very divine, right? So I suspect right now, Karen, you're probably feeling very human. Don, we know, is feeling very divine. Right? And so there's always going to be this paradigm that we have to figure out how it fits in our life today. And so Fillmore says, fully incorporating the human and the divine teaches us how to follow the way that Jesus led. He's just one of many of those who lead us in life, who led us and now is still leading us. When we turn within, whether it's in the meditation time, walking on the beach, quiet, sleeping, whatever it is that you do to go within, moving from your head to your heart, that you get to the presence that is you, representing God in the world. And that's what today's about, because we've had the big outer party, haven't we? We had all of the hoopla of Christmas and all of that, and I hope everybody got what they wanted and gave what they should have, even though we don't should in unity. But what we know is that up until Jesus was born, I love this, we, meaning those people who were there before Jesus, probably didn't really know what religion was about. And what Fillmore says is that after Jesus was born, religion became about love. Now, we often say that unity is not a religion, but a spiritual movement, and I believe that, because there's not a lot of dogma or shoulds or blame or guilt or, those types of things. So he goes on to say that first we learn about God's love for us, that it's unending, always present, always available. And that when we believe that about God and then we believe it about ourselves, then we're able to be that for another in the world. Now, I know that to be true for myself after almost 30 years in unity now. And it's quite exciting because every once in a while when I'm with a family member, I'll have a flashback of the dysfunction that I thought was what was going to be my life sentence. And it's not, and it's fabulous. So there's a great book called When the Heart Waits, and I probably first read it when I was in my 20s, quite a long time ago. And the author is Sue Monk Kidd. She's written several since then. And this is what she says. Is it possible that I am being summoned from some deep and holy place within? Am I being asked to enter a new passage in spiritual life? The journey, she says, from false self to true self. Am I being asked to dismantle old masks and old patterns and unfold a deeper, more authentic self? The one that God created me to be? ? Am I being compelled to disturb my inner universe in quest of the undiscovered being who clamors from within? What are your questions, she asks. Think about your questions. Ask your questions. And that's why in Unity we talk about asking what as opposed to why. Why involves your unconscious and your shoulders start, going down and, your posture becomes bad because you become a victim. If you ask what, it's empowering, like, what the heck am I supposed to do with this situation? Or what did that mean? What's next? What am I supposed to know, God? What am I supposed to know, universe? So it's about the way you ask the question, knowing that it's always for you. And it's tough sometimes, isn't it? When you sit in the situation of life and you think, how will I get through this? Fillmore goes on to say, we can't begin to see who Jesus was until we remove the layers of interpretation which centuries of people have interposed between us and Jesus. Those that obscure the true face, like coat after coat of lacquer upon the vibrant colors of a masterpiece. Isn't it true? Have you had to unlearn some things since you've been in unity? I did. It was almost like deprogramming what I thought I knew to be truth. And it's not about anything's less than unity or better than unity. It just is. But remember, we talk about our belief systems, also known as BS, and how they run our lives. So how are you believing what you believe so that you can live your life expressing as God? God's compassion embraces all people, Fillmore says. There are not preconditions for it, nothing we need to do first, nothing we have to believe. When we are ready to receive it, it is here. And the more we live in its presence, that's the presence of love, the presence of all that is great, the more effortlessly we flow through it. So that's what it looks like to put on the Christ. You get to figure out whether that is every morning as you're putting on your clothes, fixing your hair, not fixing your hair, getting a clip, whatever it is, so that you know that this is the day that the Lord has made, obviously. We witness that on the beach every morning. And how will you go forth being that? Reborn, like we had talked about, born anew on Christmas Eve. And then how do you go forth being that great present that we call you? Because you are a gift. And we, on behalf of Reverend Rose and me and the board, we are grateful that you are all here. And grateful that your presence is always our gift. Let us pray. Living, loving presence, thank you. Thank you for the truth of the gift that each of us is. Thank you for the classes and the lessons that we use in unity that help us unwrap all that is no longer the truth of who we are. And those same classes and prayer chaplains that helps us then swaddle ourselves in love and the truth of all that is great. Born in your image and after the likeness of all that is great, we say thank you for this holiday season. Have your way in and through us the rest of this week as we anticipate, who have we come here to be when we do our white stone ceremony and our burning bowl? What will we let go of? How will we be the best us that we can be in this world? For this and all of our blessings, seen and unseen, we say thank you. We are grateful. Amen.